Hello, my dear friends. How are you doing? Hope you are having an amazing day and not having to deal with drama. Ready for new stories I have for you today? Let's go to the first one. And don't forget to listen to the end of the story, guys, to hear my insights. Enjoy the stories. And don't forget to like and subscribe. And of course, don't forget to leave a comment. I didn't expect to be writing this. And honestly, I'm not sure what I'm hoping to get from it. Maybe clarity, maybe validation, or maybe just the chance to say what I haven't been able to say out loud to anyone without being called dramatic, controlling, or overprotective. I'm 52 years old. My daughter, Rachel, is 28. She's a mother to two beautiful kids, Mia, who's 5, and Sam, who just turned 3. She's also divorced. Her ex-husband was complicated, not abusive, not violent, but emotionally immature and selfish. He left when things got hard, when the kids got sick, when the bills piled up, when Rachel needed more than just a charming smile and a warm body in bed. She held that marriage together as long as she could, and when it finally broke, it broke her with it. Watching her go through that divorce was painful. She blamed herself, even though she gave everything to that relationship, and when it was over, she didn't just grieve the loss of a husband. She grieved the idea of the life she thought she was building. A stable home, a father for her kids, a partner who wouldn't leave. She was single for almost 2 years after that. She focused on the kids, worked 2 jobs, and tried her best to smile through the exhaustion. But I could see it in her eyes, how lonely she was. She'd say things like, "I'm tired of doing everything alone." Then she met Evan. At first I wanted to be happy for her. She was glowing. He was older, 32, and had no kids of his own, but she said he was great with Mia and Sam. She'd light up when she talked about him. "Mom, he listens. He asks me how I'm doing. He actually plays with the kids instead of just tolerating them." After everything she'd been through, I was glad to see her happy. But something about him didn't sit right with me. And it wasn't just mom instinct. It was the little things, the subtle things. The stuff you notice when you're not blinded by love or loneliness. The first time I met him, he was polite. The kind of polite that feels rehearsed, like he was playing a part. He kept calling me ma'am and wouldn't look me in the eyes for longer than 2 seconds. He avoided personal questions and always redirected the conversation back to Rachel, which at first might seem flattering, but it felt like deflection. Over time, the cracks started showing. He never talked about his past, not even funny childhood stories or high school memories. If someone asked where he grew up, he'd say all over. If someone asked about his family, he'd just say, "We're not close." Rachel told me that he had a messy ex who was obsessed with drama and made his life hell, but I noticed he never said her name. That always struck me as odd. Then there were the control issues, quiet, sneaky ones. Rachel started canceling visits more often. "Evan wants us to have some alone time." She stopped sharing updates about her work or the kids as much. "Evan says I shouldn't talk about everything to everyone." She once showed up to my house in a dress that looked beautiful on her, and when I complimented it, she laughed nervously and said, "Oh, Evan doesn't like this one. He says it's too short." She said it like a joke, but it didn't sound like one. Still, I stayed quiet. I didn't want to be that mom, the one who's always meddling, always judging. I wanted to believe that maybe I was just being overcautious. After all, he never raised his voice. He was good with the kids, and Rachel seemed happy, at least on the surface. Then the engagement happened. He proposed on their 1-year anniversary. Rachel called me crying, tears of joy, she said. She told me she finally felt like life was coming together again, that this was her second chance, her fresh start, and I smiled. I said all the right things. But my gut told me something wasn't right. And that brings me to what happened a few weeks ago, the thing that turned everything upside down. Rachel asked me to pick up Evan's car from a local car wash. He dropped it off earlier that day but couldn't make it back in time before closing, and Rachel had the kids. I had the evening free, so I agreed. The car wash is owned by someone I've known since I was a kid, Mark. We grew up together, were in the same friend group, lost touch over the years, but occasionally crossed paths. He knows me and Rachel well. When I got there, he greeted me, recognized me right away, and we chatted briefly. I told him I'm here to pick up my future sons-in-law car. Then he pulled me aside. He said, I wasn't sure if I should say anything, but I know how much Rachel has been through, and I need to show you something. He led me to a small back office and handed me an envelope. This was under the floor mat in the passenger seat. It was tucked so far back, it almost felt like it was meant to be hidden. I opened it. Inside was a printed copy of a restraining order. I felt like the air was sucked out of the room. It was issued 6 months ago. Evan's name was on it, as the respondent, the petitioner, his ex-wife. The document listed multiple incidents of harassment, uninvited contact, threats, and attempts to circumvent no-contact boundaries. It described specific events where he allegedly showed up at her workplace. My hands shook as I read it. I felt like the floor had opened beneath me. Mark looked at me and said, I didn't want to get involved. But I couldn't let this sit there, knowing it might be important. I figured you'd want to know, and he was right. I drove straight to Rachel's house. I couldn't wait. I didn't know how to bring it up, but I knew I couldn't pretend like everything was fine. When she answered the door, I told her we needed to talk, in private. I handed her the envelope. I didn't say anything at first. I just watched her open it and read. She scanned the pages. Her face changed slowly, from confusion to shock, to something I still can't name. Then she looked at me like I had just stabbed her in the back. You went through his things? She asked. I said, no, Mark found it in the car. It was hidden. He gave it to me because he thought you deserved to know. She stepped back. So, you're spying on him now? You've never liked him. You're just using this to break us up. I felt like crying. Rachel, I didn't go looking for this. But now that I know, I can't ignore it. He has a restraining order from his ex-wife. That's not a small thing. She threw the envelope on the counter and snapped. You don't know what she did to him. She's a liar. She's manipulative. He told me she made up stories to ruin his reputation. You're taking her side. I'm not taking sides, I said. I'm asking you to slow down, to look at this seriously. You have kids, Rachel. You have to think about their safety. She told me I was trying to destroy her happiness, that I wanted her to be alone, that I never believed she deserved love. She said I was making her choose between her future and her past. I sat in her kitchen, heartbroken, trying not to cry. I'm your mother, I whispered. I've always wanted what's best for you. I didn't ask for this, but I can't stay quiet when something doesn't feel right. She asked me to leave, so I did. That was 3 weeks ago. We haven't spoken since. She hasn't returned my calls or texts. She posted a photo last weekend, a family day at the zoo. Evan standing beside the kids, smiling like nothing's wrong. I don't know what she's thinking. I don't know if she even believes the restraining order is real. I know that pretending everything is fine would have been easier, but I also know it wouldn't have been right. So now I'm here, asking Reddit, am I the asshole for showing my daughter the restraining order I found in her fiance's car, even though she thinks I just want to ruin her life? OP is absolutely not the asshole. OP didn't go digging. She didn't spy. This wasn't some paranoid scheme to sabotage her daughter's relationship. It landed in OP's hands, and OP did what any caring, rational parent would do. She told her the truth. Honestly, I think what's happening here is classic manipulation. Her fiancé has clearly gotten into her head, and now OP is being cast as the villain for doing what her partner should have done himself. Be honest about his past. It hurts, I know, but silence wouldn't have protected her. She may not see it now, but one day she might. And when she does, she'll know OP was the one person who was never afraid to tell her the truth. And now, let's hear community's opinion. You didn't ruin her happiness. You disrupted a fantasy. A version of her life that was built on missing information. That's not cruel. That's loving her enough to risk her getting mad at you. And I get why she's reacting this way. She's scared. She's been through a lot. She wants this to work. But people who have nothing to hide don't stuff restraining orders under car mats and pretend their exes don't exist. I think you did the right thing. You didn't accuse. You didn't demand she leave him. You just gave her the truth and let her choose. That's all a parent can do. As someone who was in a relationship with a man who never told me about his past until it was too late, I wish someone had done what you did. A restraining order isn't just drama. It's a legal action taken because someone feels unsafe. That's not something to ignore or brush off. It means something happened, something serious. The fact that your daughter's fiance never told her about it, and worse, hid it in his car. That's terrifying. She's in denial right now. But denial doesn't erase risk. You weren't just trying to protect her. You were protecting your grandchildren too. That's what any good parent or grandparent would do. Not the a-hole at all. You handled it with grace. You didn't blow up. You didn't make it about control. You went to her directly, calmly, with evidence, and she's choosing not to see the danger. That's not your fault. That's the heartbreaking part of parenting no one talks about. Sometimes you do everything right, and they still push you away. But please don't regret speaking up. You chose her safety over your comfort, and I promise you, if this man turns out to be who you fear he is, your daughter will remember who tried to warn her. You may have saved her more than you'll ever know. Full disclosure, my 22 female, mom, 41 female, had a one-night stand with my biological father, 50 male, at a super wild party. My mom never attempted to contact her sperm donor and instead raised me herself. Only last year did I track down my dad using ancestry DNA. So I'm trying to view his life decisions as objectively as possible. I met my dad for the first time ever last year. It did not go well. I also discovered that his personal life is kind of a mess. He is divorced from his first wife, 48 female, with whom he has 3 children, 2 of whom he is paying child support for. He also squandered his ex-wife's inheritance while having affairs. Last week, my dad called again. He told me that he is getting married to a 25-year-old Asian woman that he impregnated. Her parents are demanding proof that he can provide for her, but he's flat broke and owes $15,000 in child support and alimony. My dad asks if he can borrow a few $1,000s to save his face until the wedding. His words. I say I'd love to help, but I'm barely solvent. I owe $100,000 in student loans. I earn barely $40,000 per year due to my useless liberal arts degree. His words. My rent is being jacked up. I need to help pay my mom's medical bills, etc. But actually, I have $0 in student loans because I attended college on a scholarship and work to pay off the rest. I earn 6 figures a year as a freelance copywriter and author. I just bought the condo I'm living in, and my mom is perfectly healthy. My dad's ex-wife once told me that I'm more his child than any of his legitimate children. That is, I'm a complete a-hole who doesn't give a damn about anyone, besides my mom. Agree or disagree? Would not be the a-hole. Do not give that man money. You will probably be sparing the poor woman he's trying to marry from an awful life, too. If he continues to ask, come up with increasingly more complex and/or outrageous reasons, i.e., your goldfish needs life support, you're saving to buy part of a Caribbean island as a timeshare, you have an undescended ovary that requires surgery, or your car's glow spark needs replaced, or your mom's toes fell off and you need to get her replacement toes before sandal season. Wow, your sperm donor sounds like a piece of work. Seems like you would have been better off with the mystery. Also, that comment from your sperm donor's ex-wife is toxic as hell. They must be fun at parties. Not only are you not the a-hole, you'd be so much better off forgetting this dude ever existed. Not the a-hole. The likelihood of you ever getting any of that money back is slim to none. You do not owe him anything in life just because he mixed a batch with your mom one night 22 years and 9-ish months ago. If he ever finds out you lied, oh well. What kind of person asks their kid they have known for 1 year for that kind of money? Honestly, I'm surprised you haven't considered explaining to his future wife and to in-laws what an absolute stud he is in the kids and ex-spouse department, as well as his financials. You not having an interest in his family or anyone but those you care about isn't a case of the apple not falling far from the tree, but a simple fact of them being family by blood and nothing more. Enjoy your well-earned debt-free success. I love my wife very much, but I'm starting to see her in a different light. When we started trying for children and having difficulty, we saw a specialist. There we found out that my wife's eggs are not viable and basically don't work. She can still physically carry a pregnancy, just not with her eggs. We were devastated, especially my wife. She took it hard and went to therapy and everything. I was open to whatever solution she wanted. She didn't want adoption and made it clear she wanted a baby related to me. We decided on an egg donor. She wanted full control of who it was, which I didn't mind. I allowed her to spend thousands on different clinic and specialists, finding the perfect egg she wanted. I just wanted to help her fulfill her dream of becoming a mother. Finally, she decided on the donor, and we had the embryo implanted, and it worked. She got pregnant with our daughter on the first try. She didn't want anyone to know of her fertility issue or that we were using a donor egg, and I didn't care. Whatever made her comfortable. The pregnancy went great. Fast forward 3 years now. Our daughter is turning 3 at the end of the year. My wife and I already discussed having another baby during this time. To my surprise, when I brought it up, she said she was having doubts. She said our daughter didn't come out how she pictured, visually or personality-wise. She doesn't act or look like her at all. She even started crying. I was shocked. She's a stay-at-home mom and seems to love our daughter. This came from nowhere. I asked her what was wrong, and she said that next time she wants another egg donor. We had already planned to reuse the same donor, but I really took offense to the fact that she thinks our daughter isn't good enough. She got upset and said that's not what she means. She just wants a better donor that fits her more than the first donor did in terms of looks and personality. I then got upset and said that if she wants 2 different donors and is going to treat the kids differently because of it, subconsciously or even consciously, then I'm not going to go along with our original agreement to never tell our daughter or future children we used an egg donor. This sent her over the edge in hysterics, and she hasn't spoken to me in days. Am I the a-hole? So I spoke to my wife, and she's still not talking to me a lot, but I recommended we go to therapy, and she said no, and that she's thought about it, and that she wants to use the same donor again, and to just forget what she said. But I just can't. I told her that we should wait, and she got upset again. I haven't brought up telling our daughter about it yet, because I don't want to rock the boat too much. That seems to be what's really upsetting her. Your daughter is going to need to have that information so she has an accurate medical background. Not the a-hole for being concerned about your wife treating your daughter differently if you have another child by a different donor. But what on earth made you think it was okay to lie to your child? You have bigger issues with your wife. Her idea of children is warped. Even biological children do not always have their parents' personalities. Her idea of how your children should look like and how they should behave is worrying. I don't know if therapy or counseling is part of the fertility process, but it seems there's a big disconnect between reality and what is going on in her mind. Regardless of the outcome about the second child, your wife needs some help. There's a reason why most people advise couples to let their children know as soon as possible about their genetics. Most of the time when this information is not provided properly, there are lots of problems that are harder to deal with than when the topic is dealt with early. Not the a-hole. I don't think both of you are the a-holes. You are both in a different situation. Infertility is a hard issue to deal with. Everyone sucks here. That is a terrible agreement. Your daughter deserves to know where she came from, and honestly, how do you expect to keep this from her anyway? The first time she needs a medical history or a genetic test, your lie will be exposed. I, 38 female, recently quit my job at a big tech company, making over $200,000, and my husband also makes similar working in tech. I live very frugally and saved 70 to 75% of my income with my husband. We now have a big nest egg, enough to retire and enjoy our passions. He loves carpentry and is making custom furniture, and I'm dog walking and making custom cakes. Now we make enough to support ourselves since our house is paid off. With our nest egg, I think even with inflation, we should make it for the rest of our lives. So we decided to work for ourselves, but of course it means we don't make as much. My husband still works as a contractor, but the contract expires in 6 months, and I've already retired. I was burned out already for years, but forced myself through it, because I was afraid of retiring during the virus uncertainty. But it looks like it's a crapshoot no matter what, so I retired to enjoy my life. The problem is, I paid for my parents' housing for nearly a decade. My brother has ADHD and lives with them, and has been fired from pretty much every job he's had. I believe it's because my parents coddle him, and not due to his ADHD. He got meningitis as a baby, and while he doesn't have any lasting issues from that, my parents were always really soft on him because of it, and let him get away with everything. Now he's in his 30s and can't hold down a job. So my parents are still raising him, and my mom never worked because my dad was always the breadwinner. But my dad was laid off a decade ago and couldn't find other work in his field, so he's been doing odd jobs and part-time work. When they couldn't make rent, they asked me for help and guilted me into it because I made more. So I pay roughly $700 a month for them to stay in their place, and have done so for the last decade. In the beginning, I tried to get my mom and brother to work, but they kept saying how tired they were and kept putting off sending out resumes to a point I gave up. About 4 months ago, I told them of my plan to retire early and start my own business, And of course I was called selfish and ungrateful for cutting them off because I make more and am choosing to quit. This month the landlord came to ask for money, and they ran to me for money again, even though I gave them 4 months' notice and made it clear that September's rent was the last month I'm paying, and demanding I pay another month because they weren't ready. I told them they had 4 months, so figure things out, but I was sick of paying for their rent when my parents are still in their 60s and can work. Now I'm getting repeated calls, texts, emails, calling me cruel and greedy for cutting them off. Not the a-hole. I have ADHD and have a career in engineering. Your parents just raised an a-hole. If they keep asking you for money, go low contact with them. Not your pig, not your farm. Good luck in your retirement. I'm very freaking jealous. Not the a-hole. 4 months is more than most would get. You complain about your parents enabling your brother, but that $700 enables all of them. ADHD is tough, but millions manage to work with it. It's time for brother to figure it out. Even a part-time job would make up that $700 in a few weeks. Not the a-hole. You never should have been paying their bills to begin with. You're lucky enough that you can retire so young and enjoy yourself, and that's amazing, but you're not obligated to care for 3 full-grown adults. You're not a babysitter, and none of them are senile. I, 27 female, have a younger sister, 20 female. We did not have good parents. They parentified me from the time I was 8 years old, and it only got worse. My parents were emotionally and physically unavailable to both of us most of our lives, and maybe I was so young and because my sister was so needy for me, it created a toxic relationship between us. She reached a point of selfishness over me. She expected me to have no life of my own. She got mad at me when I got a job after I left school, so we could both have better, because I wouldn't be walking her home from school and there with her in the house after school. She wanted me all the time. A few times, she even faked being sick to keep me from going to work because she wanted me to lose my job. It was not good for either of us. I think at some point around 7 years ago, I stopped loving her. She felt like a burden, and I couldn't be what she wanted me to be. She wanted someone who knew everything, who loved her, and wanted to dedicate my life to her. She also wanted someone who would do what she wanted. That was not me. I ended up moving out. I would send money for her, but I rarely visited because when I was there, she wanted me to cook her food, wanted me to buy her nice clothes, wanted an Xbox, makeup, and all kinds of stuff. From the second I would get there until the second I drove off, she'd be asking for more and more. She was a kid, and I understand that better now, but honestly, I wasn't in the place to raise a kid. Fast forward to last year. She told me she had gone to college, that our parents had given her the money to go, and how she wanted me to visit her and bring her stuff to fill her dorm room with. I asked her if she was serious. She told me it was my job to make sure she was able to land on her feet. I brought her some stuff. It wasn't enough. We fought. She wrote me out a list of stuff she wanted. I ignored it. She left the dorm and moved into an apartment with friends. About 2 months ago, they were told they would be kicked out because they were way behind on rent and couldn't promise it would be paid. She called me for help. She asked me to help her pay. She told me she needed me to bail her out. I said no. She called and left several voice messages asking for my help with it, but I didn't give it to her. I didn't want to be on the hook for her. I got a call a week ago saying she was now homeless and it was all my fault. She told me I should have helped. I should not have ignored her calls for help. She called me a bee and a useless mother. I'm expecting a baby with my husband. I told her I wasn't a mother yet. She told me I became a mother when she was born and I owed her better. I feel bad. I also feel torn. So, am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. She is not your child. She's a full-grown adult. If people continue to enable her, she will never grow up. Your sister is entitled. You've done nothing wrong. Not the a-hole. She needs to learn to be self-sufficient at 20. The hard truth is that you can't parent her forever. She also should not be trying to make you lose your job, and she is effectively forcing you to be her parent. You need to curb this behavior. Not the a-hole. It's a sad fact that your parents allowed this to grow to this level. Your sister needs to learn that she is an adult, and it's time to grow up. You are allowed to have your own life and aren't responsible for her. Focus on your husband and baby. I would advise writing your sister a letter explaining your feelings. Then go low contact because you need to heal from the trauma. You both need therapy. I'm a 21 female college student. My dad's stepdaughter is 18 turning 19 soon and expecting a baby. She has no idea who the father is, and she's been left behind by her friends who are all in college after graduating last year. She never went and stayed living with my dad and her mom. Now she's pregnant, doesn't have a job, and isn't in school, But she's planning to go now, which I don't know. I don't believe that, but I know my dad wants it. I transferred and now live about an hour from my dad. Because I'm so much closer now, he wants me to help out his stepdaughter, give her a place to stay some nights so she can get away from their house, maybe be a sister to her, offer to be an aunt to the baby. She and I have never gotten along, and I personally think she's a spoiled brat, and I do not consider her family, even though by marriage she is. But we never treated each other like sisters, and have never counted on each other as such. She regrets that now. She told me as much. She realizes I have people in my life who would be there for me in a heartbeat, which she doesn't have outside her mom and my dad. I told my dad I wasn't interested, that I am happy where my life is, and I don't trust her to follow through, nor do I care enough about her to reach out. It's the honest truth. I don't care if she does try or not. She's not important to me. It upset him because he wants more for her. He wants me to want this so badly, but she wasn't part of my life for as long as she was his. I was 15 when I moved in with him after my mom died, and before that, I saw him a few weeks of the year. My dad was upset, but not angry. His wife, however, thinks I'm a bad egg, to quote her, which gave me pause. She said family helps each other. Wouldn't I want her to help me? The answer to that is no, because I've seen what her help leads to. Do I not long for a sister that I never otherwise had? All this stuff. Then she talks about how her baby is special and important, and I should cherish her. She told me only bad eggs refuse to help. I might be wrong now, but I consider that her way of calling me an a-hole, and I only entertain that because my dad is hurt. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. Funny how they say family is supposed to be supportive of each other when they're trying to get rid of the pregnant teenager who is living under their roof. Not the a-hole. She thinks you're a bad egg, but her princess does not even know who her baby daddy is. The cheek! You owe her nothing. You're too young to shoulder her mistakes. Not the a-hole. Your sister is only telling you what you want to hear because you have something that your father had offered up to the table without actually talking to you about this. She doesn't get to assume you'll be there and help if neither of you had seen each other as family in the first place. Your stepmom can be a good egg and be there for your stepsister every step of the way.